Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about the topic, why you can't hear God. And I wanted to talk about this because we have so many Christians. We have billions of Christians all over the world. Christians who truly believe in the Bible, who truly believe in Christ and that Christ died for us and through him we're saved and all of that. But at the same time, there are so many Christians that say, yo, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, but why can't I hear God? I can never hear God's voice. I feel like God never speaks to me. I even open up the Bible, and even through the Bible, I'm flipping through pages, I'm reading stories, and I don't know, my faith is just weakened. And I don't know, I just feel like my faith isn't growing. I feel like God is not speaking through me, not even through his words. And it's a big problem that we're facing in today's day and age. And I'm just going to go straight into it. The reason why people can't hear God, the reason why when people pray, they don't hear God, the reason why when people open up their Bibles and they read the word, is like the word is not speaking to them, is because we are distracted. Guys, we're distracted. We're distracted by social media. We're distracted by TV shows. We're distracted by movies. We're distracted, guys. We live in a time and a place where we don't allow ourselves to be bored. We live in a time and a place where we wake up in the morning and the first thing we reach is not the Bible, but our phones. We live in a time and a place that before we go to bed, we don't pray at night, but we scroll at night, right? We watch a movie at night. We watch the TV at night. And then by the time we do want to pray, we're already too tired. We're like, okay, let me just pray for 1 minute because I got to wake up to go to school tomorrow. I got to wake up to go to work tomorrow. And it's already 3 in the morning. So the reason why we can't hear God is because we're distracted. We don't sit in the silence. We lack discipline. We get easily distracted by the things in the world. And that's something that the enemy has used for us to be further and further away from God. That's why we got so many Christians out here who they have anxiety. So many Christians out here that maybe they're feeling depressed for a long time, that instead of them spending 5 to 10 minutes in God's presence, they spend hours on the phone. And by the way, I'm not judging everybody, because I'm also talking about myself. I want to make this video because it's something that's happened to me. It's something that I've struggled with. So the reason we can't hear God is because we are distracted. Now the question is, how can we solve this? How can we go back to the time in which we would spend actual time with God? We would spend quality time in prayer. We would spend quality time reading his word. We would worship God and just be filled and feel that satisfaction of like, okay, I'm connected to my creator. How do we fix this? We fix this by not feeding our flesh. That's just a reality. If you're somebody who's struggling with this, you feel really far from God, you try and read your Bible and it's really hard to open it up. You try and pray and it's really hard to pray. I suggest you sit down and you make a list. Make a list of everything that's distracting you. Make a list of what habits you have. If you have a habit of waking up in the morning and the first thing you reach is your phone and you scroll through social media for 30 minutes before going to work, write that down. Before you go to bed, or maybe you're already in bed at night and you know you spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours scrolling through social media, watching your favorite TV show, watching a movie, and you know that 5 minutes before you go to sleep, you're like, oh man, I'm really tired to read the Bible. I'm really tired to pray. Write that down. And once you make that list, you now have to be intentional. If we want to break out of that habit, we have to be intentional. How are we intentional? For me personally, what's worked for me is that I set an alarm. I set an alarm to a reminder on my iPhone to pray. Let's say it is 11 p.m. at night. I'm watching a show, I'm watching a movie. I get that reminder and it reminds me, oh, I need to pray. When you wake up in the morning, you also set an alarm. You also set a reminder. You wake up, you tap the alarm, you shut down the alarm, and then you start scrolling and then boom, 5 minutes later, the reminder comes, oh, pray. We need to prioritize it. You know, something my wife does is, in order for her to not be on her phone and to not be distracted and for her to actually spend some time with God, what she does is that she puts an alarm on her phone and then she leaves the phone in the living room so she can actually go into the room, spend time with God, read her Bible, and not be tempted to pick up the phone. So if we want to break out of these habits, we have to be intentional. That's just the reality. It's happened to me so many times where instead of feeding my spirit, I'm feeding my flesh. There's been so many times in my life where I'm constantly on the phone, I'm constantly on the phone, I'm constantly on the phone, and I have no desire to pray. I have no desire to read the Bible. I have no desire to do anything spiritual. But I've noticed that when I do take that step, when I do force myself to pray more, when I force myself to fast, when I force myself to actually read the Bible, and I'm feeding my spirit, I'm doing things that are feeding my spirit. You may or may not believe me, but I feel closer to God more than ever. But not only do I feel closer to God more than ever, when I open up my Bible and I start reading the Word, God speaks to me through His Word. Guys, something that has happened to me on my Christian walk is that God has spoken to me through dreams. I've had prophetic dreams where literally certain things happen in those dreams, and then a couple of months later, it happens exactly how I saw it in the dream. But the interesting part is that the only times that I have dreams like that is when I'm seeking Christ consistently. When I'm being lazy, when I'm not reading my Bible, when I'm like really like it's a drag for me to pray, that never happens to me. But when I have a consistent prayer life, when I'm reading my word, when I'm just being consistent with God and having that relationship with God, God speaks to me more than ever. I feel closer to God more than ever. So if you're somebody who feels like, man, I can't hear God, God is not speaking to me, I'm opening up the Bible, I'm reading the Bible, and I don't know, it's just nothing's happening. You have to be more intentional about the time that you spend with God. And I can compare it to a relationship, a romantic relationship. When you meet somebody new, what do? You like them, you enjoy spending time with them, so you go out with them, you're intentional about the time you spend with them, you speak to them for hours and hours and hours because you're so in love. The same mentality that we have with those people, the same mentality that I had, for example, with my wife when I was getting to know her, and even now when we go on dates and we go on vacations and everything, we have to have that same energy and that same mentality with Christ, because that's the only way our faith is going to grow. That's the only way we're going to become more bold. That's the only way we're going to be able to discern certain things, you know? When it comes to day-to-day life, we have to make decisions. And the best decisions that we can make are decisions that are led by God. But if you're not seeking Christ and you have no discernment and you're just not praying about it, then you're going to end up making bad decisions. So my point is this, and I've already said it, we have to be intentional. Do everything and anything you can to spend more time with God. Force yourself, put an alarm, call somebody so that they can hold you accountable. But if you want to hear from God, if you want to open up His Word and actually learn and be fed by it, if you want to hear from Him, guys, be intentional and be more consistent. And like I've said already, this has happened to me so many times. When I'm feeding my flesh, when I'm being lazy, I never hear from God. The Word, I can open up the Bible and read it. Okay, that's cool, but maybe it doesn't speak to me the same. But when I'm feeding my spirit and I'm in constant prayer, guys, I'm telling you, you have more discipline, you have more patience, you have more kindness. Like what Paul says are the fruits of the Spirit. When you're closer to Christ, when you have a daily prayer life, a consistent prayer life, you literally, like, it's easier to have the fruits of the Spirit. It's easier to show more patience. It's easier to show more love. You have more discernment about certain things. So it's really important. Take away the distractions. Be intentional about your time with God. Sit down and write down, what is distracting me? What are the things that are distracting me? What are the things that are keeping me far from God? And I actually have a story to share. Recently, let's say maybe almost a month ago, I was going through a time where I was not being consistent at all. I was not being consistent. I wasn't praying the way I had to pray. You know, I would use my phone at night, and then when it came time to sleep, I'm already tired. I would do a short, quick prayer. I would read the verse of the day. And God in His mercy, He spoke to me in a dream. He spoke to me in a dream. I went to sleep one night, and I remember I was visiting my parents with my wife. I went to sleep one night, and I had a very interesting dream. And what happened in this dream was that I was in a church, right? I was in a church. I was in the pulpit and I was going to preach a sermon. I had all my notes. It was a bunch of pieces of paper and I was ready to preach. But every single time that I tried to preach, that I tried to get a word out, somebody in the audience would stand up and interrupt me. And I'd be like, yo, like I would try to calm people down. Okay, let me restart my sermon. So I would try and restart the sermon. And as I was about to start speaking again, somebody else would pop up and they would distract me. And then I tried to do it again. And then somebody else would pop up and they would distract me. They would say a word. They would interrupt me. So throughout the dream, I'm trying to say a sermon. I'm trying to preach. I'm trying to get the words of God out of my mouth and preach it to the audience. But people keep on popping up and they keep on distracting and they keep on interrupting. And I think in the dream, there was only one person who was trying to defend me, but even they ended up being a distraction. And it came to a point in the dream too where all the paper for the sermon that I had written down, it fell down and I was unorganized. I'm like, oh, all the papers, they mixed up together and my sermon was unorganized. And I felt despair. And I just felt despair. I felt horrible. I was like, yo, I'm trying to preach. Everybody keeps on interrupting me. Now, all of the papers that I had here, all of my notes, they fell down, they mixed up. What am I going to do? And then something else happened in the dream, but that was the main part. And I woke up and I told my wife about it. And my wife has actually prayed to God for God to give her discernment, you know, for her to be able to discern and interpret dreams and things along those lines. And her being my wife and her knowing me, and she knows when my spiritual life is a little weakened, or she knows when my spiritual life is up and coming and strong. She told me, Ernesto, she looked at me, she was like, yo, what I think this dream means is that, you know, God is trying to use you. I'm kind of paraphrasing. She said, God is trying to use you, but you're distracted. You have distractions all around you. The people who stood up and who were interrupting me, the people who were preventing me from doing the will of God, the people who were preventing me from getting a word out, those people that represent the distractions in my life at this moment. And when she explained it that way, it made perfect sense for me. Because guys, you know, me and my wife were youth leaders, and God has called us to do other things. You know, we do YouTube and there's other things that we want to do for God. But I'm not going to lie to you guys, because of the distractions in my life, because a lot of times I'm like using my phone, and because I'm using my phone, I'm distracted and I'm not making a YouTube video, or maybe I'm not working on certain things that we have to work on with the youth, my wife and I, the youth from church. Because I have all of these distractions around me, these distractions are preventing me from doing the will of God. Not only get closer to God, not only be more consistent in prayer, not only hear from God and read His Word, it's preventing me and it's limiting me from doing His will, from doing what He has called me to do, from doing what He has called all of us to do, which is preach the gospel. And in the same way, I know that God spoke to me at that moment. He spoke to me through that dream, letting me know like, yo, Ernesto, I have a plan, I have a purpose for you. You know, you're supposed to be on a mission here, but you're distracted. I know that there's probably a lot of you out there that God, as Christians, God has a plan. He has a purpose. He's giving you a ministry. But because you're so distracted, because you're consuming social media so much, because you never spend time alone with Christ, because there's always noise around you and you don't sit in silence, and all these distractions are around you, these distractions are limiting you from doing the will of God. So I just want to finish by saying this, guys. If you want to hear God, be intentional. Take the distractions away from your life. Take the phones away. Find somebody who can hold you accountable. Like I said in the video already, put an alarm. Do anything possible. Because it's not only that you're not hearing from God, it's also that you're not doing the will of God in your life. Maybe God has called you for something specific. Maybe He's called you to be an evangelist, to be a pastor. Maybe He wants you to work with the youth. There's so many things and so many different purposes that God has for us in order for us to be able to spread the gospel. But if we're distracted by social media, if we're distracted by the things of this world, not only will we not hear His voice, but we won't be able to carry out His will. So I think this is a reminder to all of us, guys. let's not be distracted. After you finish watching this video, look at your schedule. Look at the things that you do, the things that you consume, the things that distract you from God, and eliminate them so that you can get closer to God. And this is not me saying, oh, never watch a movie again, never go on social media again, never watch a TV show again. No, because I do that. You know, I watch movies, I watch TV, I go on social media. But don't let it consume your life. Don't let it go above Christ. Don't let it limit you from the purpose that God has for you. And don't let it limit you from spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, because at the end of the day, so many people are dying every day. So many people are going straight to hell. And we as believers and disciples of Christ, we need to go out there and we need to share the gospel. But in order for us to share the gospel, we also need the Holy Spirit. We need that discernment. We need to be strengthened spiritually, and we can't have distractions around us. So I hope to whoever's watching out there, I hope this was a good reminder to all of you. It's certainly a reminder to me. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. God bless you guys. Until next time.